Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sports Blitz here, and NFL football is back. In less than 24 hours, the NFL 2024 through 2025 season will kick off with the Baltimore Ravens against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we all know football has been taking way too long to come back. Super excited for it. Gonna be honest, guys. I kind of dropped the ball on getting all of my record predictions out. I've only got it out for about the first 8 teams right now, so a lot of those were missed. Um, but we'll do these week to week predictions, so see how accurate we are there. But let's go ahead and get on into it. Starting off, like I said, Thursday night game, Baltimore Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Basically a rematch from the AFC Championship game last year. You've got to think the Ravens are coming into this game feeling some type of way after last year. Obviously, not as much is on the line in this game. I think both of these teams are probably going to make the playoffs regardless of who wins this game. But still, you got to think the Ravens are coming in feeling some type of way. And honestly, with their additions this offseason, I think I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this. I've been going back and forth on this. I mean, I believe in my Ravens prediction. I actually predicted the Chiefs to win it. But, I looked at some stats, and the Chiefs struggled against the run last year. They were number 18th in run defense. And I know they stopped the run well against the Ravens in the playoffs, but the Ravens also didn't have Derrick Henry at the time. I think that's going to be a massive difference, and I think that's going to be a big part of why they win this game. So, then going to the Friday game, actually in Brazil over here, we have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, and this should be an interesting game. I don't believe we've ever had a Brazil game. Obviously, we have London games every year. I believe last year was the first year we started doing Germany games as well. So it's exciting that it's expanding to other countries, but first Brazil game here should be exciting. I'm loving what the Packers are doing. Jordan Love with another year in this offense. A lot of really talented young receivers that really started to flourish at the end of last year. Had a good offseason picking up Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. And then for the Eagles, I thought they had another solid draft, picking up Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They paid both of their receivers this offseason, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I think Jalen Hurts is kind of one of those quarterbacks that gets a lot more hate than he deserves. I think he's still a very talented quarterback, top 10 quarterback, and can be a game changer when needed. That said, though, I think the Packers are just on too much of a rise right now. I'm going to go ahead and go Green Bay. So, then starting off with the Sunday slate of games. So we'll go ahead and go left to right here. So we got the New England Patriots taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not going to take much time on this one. Bengals are winning this. I know they start off the season basically every year pretty slow, but I think the Patriots are going to be rough this year. I don't think they have a real talented roster. I don't love their receivers. Really, there's not a lot I do love about this team right now. I think Gerard Mayo may be able to turn into a fine coach. I think Drake May is going to be a good quarterback. But outside of that, there's not a lot on this team that really moves me. So I think even with a slow starting week, I think the Bengals win this. So then going to the Jags at Dolphins game, both Florida teams, I think this is going to actually be a really high scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams score over 30, maybe one of them even getting into the 40s. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think Tyreek Hill is set for a massive game here. I think they're going to run the ball really well, the Dolphins, that is. But then I think Trevor Lawrence is also bound for a bounce back from last year. Travis Etienne is very talented running back. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but I don't think the Jags defense is going to do enough to really stop the Dolphins offense. So I think the Dolphins win. Then we have the Texans at the Colts. There's a lot of questions around the Colts with the Anthony Richardson situation. There's been a lot of people this offseason talking about how Anthony Richardson's going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback and, even a top 10 to 15 actual quarterback through the season. And I mean, I like Richardson. I do. I think he's very, very talented. But he only played like 4 games last year and got hurt in 2 of them. I mean, we haven't seen much from him. I don't think we can start calling him a top 5 fantasy quarterback and have top 10 to top 15 quarterback expectations of him. That said, I do think Shane Steichen will put him in positions to succeed. I think when he runs, that offense becomes very, very dynamic with Jonathan Taylor. But honestly, I think the Texans honestly just got much, much better from last year, too. I think the Texans have probably the best wide receiver trio in the entire league. I think Joe Mixon was an upgrade at running back. They brought in Danielle Hunter from the Vikings. Obviously Will Anderson's going into year 2. CJ Stroud's going into year 2. This team is just looking amazing. I have a hard time predicting against them, so I'm going to go Texans here. Then we have the Raiders at the Chargers. I feel like these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams, actually. I feel like the Raiders' defense is going to be really, really good this year, actually. They picked up Christian Wilkins in the offseason. Max Crosby's just an absolute animal. I just think that's going to be a really good defense. Now, their offensive situation kind of scares me. Gardner Minshew did serviceable for the Colts last year, but there were too many turnovers, and I think that's going to be kind of the story for the Raiders as well. I don't like the Raiders' quarterback situation, and that's what's going to be holding them back this year. That and losing Josh Jacobs. So, for the Chargers, obviously bringing in Jim Harbaugh, I think he's going to be a fine coach this year. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to be anything insane this year. I think their receiving core is very rough. It's not far-fetched for Ladd McConkey to be that wide receiver 1 in that offense this year. Josh Palmer's all right. They brought in DJ Chark in the offseason, who he's inconsistent to say the least. Sometimes he'll make just wow plays, and other times it's like, how the crap did you drop that? So, super inconsistent. Quentin Johnston also has major issues with drops, so we'll have to see what happens there. I mean, that receiving core is not good. They've got a mediocre duo at running back with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe it was J.K. Dobbins because I think they got both of the Ravens running backs, if I remember right. I think that'll be an alright rushing duo, but I don't think you're going to be able to run much against the Raiders. Overall, I predict a low scoring game. I think it's going to be about a field goal difference, low scoring. Chargers win. Then we have the Titans taking on the Chicago Bears. Titans are another really big question mark for me this season. Wondering what Will Levis is going to be, how that receiving core is going to be, because I feel like all three of their receivers are, serviceable, but none of them scream wide receiver one to me. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is way past his prime. Calvin Ridley is also past his prime and really just, like, he's solid, but he's not that amazing anymore. Tyler Boyd is also solid, but none of them scream wide receiver one to me. And it'll be interesting to see how that offense flourishes. I do also think by the end of the season, Tyjae Spears is going to be running back one there. Never really been that high on Tony Pollard. I thought he was kind of a product of a very good Dallas O-line when he was there, and I think we're going to see that this season. Titans have a really good defense, especially front seven. They drafted T'Vondre Sweat out of Texas, who is a massive defensive tackle to go along with Jeffrey Simmons. So I think they'll do really good at stopping the run. I'll be honest, I was very worried about the secondary until they traded for L'Jarius Sneed. That calms things quite a bit. If they didn't get L'Jarius Sneed, I would absolutely 1,000% say this is the Bears' game to win. Now it's a little bit more challenging. I think they covered DJ Moore pretty well. That said, the Bears also have a really, really good trio of wide receivers. Even if DJ Moore is covered, still got Keenan Allen. They drafted Rome Odunze. They have Cole Kmet. Honestly, I think DeAndre Swift is a pretty dang solid running back as well. Biggest question mark this game is, biggest question mark for the Bears is Caleb Williams really going to be that dude? I know we saw some amazing throws from him in the preseason. We also saw some misses, which is expected for a rookie quarterback, but that's also kind of the reason here that he is a rookie quarterback. Sometimes you got to temper your expectations a little bit, even if he's this generational talent at quarterback there coming out of the draft, he's still a rookie, Not everybody's going to come out and have a CJ Stroud or Justin Herbert type of rookie year. So, that said, though, I do think the Bears do enough to win. I do think it's more low scoring. I'm expecting. I'm not sure if either of these teams get to 20 points, if I'm being honest with you. But anyways, should be a good game. Should be a defensive game. Yeah, should be fun. Then we have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Steelers have had a very interesting offseason, completely rebuilding their quarterback room. They announced Russell Wilson as the starter the other day and as a team captain. I feel like that was the expected decision. However, I do honestly think that offense would run a little bit better with Justin Fields starting. I feel like Fields had a lot of very, very good moments in Chicago last year, and you could see the growth from last year, from the year before. You know, I think he would run the Steelers offense better than Wilson would. And honestly, I think he's going to be the starter at some point in this season. So, the Steelers may possibly be without Jalen Warren this game as well. I know he had a hamstring injury the second week of the preseason. I don't know if he's going to be back yet or not. So don't quote me on that if he's going to be out or not. Just saying that's a possibility. For the Falcons, they also had a massive offseason getting Kirk Cousins, who was honestly looking like an MVP season last year before the Achilles injury. Unfortunately, that is a really, really big injury for a quarterback that age. Especially, like, well, I don't know. I was going to say, especially for, more of a pocket passer, but really, you think about it, it'd be worse on a mobile quarterback because they'd have to run more. But just kind of thinking out loud. Anyways, they're going to use Bijan Robinson a lot more. The head coach has said they plan to use him very similar to the Niners use Christian McCaffrey. So that should be exciting to see. I think Kyle Pitts gets a lot more involved. That said, I did hear today that he's dealing with an injury. I don't know if he's going to be out for this game or not, or if he'll be back. Something's just really telling me the Falcons are gonna win this game. I think both teams are gonna come in looking rusty. But honestly, I think it's going to be the Falcons' run game and their defense that wins this game. I think Russell Wilson's going to struggle. I think he's going to throw at least 2 picks. And it's not going to look pretty for the Steelers' offense. So, then we have the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills had a rough offseason. Losing Stephon Diggs, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White. I mean, they lost a ton of big name talent from their roster. I mean, their number one receiver right now is probably going to be Khalil Shakir, but otherwise splitting targets with Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman. So that'll be interesting to see there. Honestly, I expect a fairly offensive game. I think the Cardinals have a talented offense. If Marvin Harrison Jr. really is that guy that they're expecting him to be, this offense is going to take big steps forward. Unfortunately, I don't think the Cardinals have a very good defense. I think their defense is going to struggle quite a bit, and really it's just going to be a matter of their offense keeping up with other teams. So I do expect a fairly high scoring game, and I expect the Bills to win this. Then we have the Denver Broncos taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Bo Nix is the starter, also named a captain. Um, Good for him. Honestly, I thought he was drafted a little bit high, but he also had a really good preseason. He looked very poised. I feel like there were a lot of clips in the offseason of him throwing pretty bad looking interceptions, but he showed in the actual preseason games that why they drafted him, you know? He was looking good. Um so I think this should actually be a fairly even matchup here. Um I do still have more confidence in Geno Smith and, throwing to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba. You know the guys. Um, I think the Seahawks are just the better team still. Um, then we have the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Cleveland Browns. I mentioned before that I feel like the Cowboys were a little bit too distracted this offseason. I don't feel like they were very focused. Um, Very distracted by the CeeDee Lamb contract situation. Um, I heard, issues that, like, Micah Parsons was missing practices due to, contract stuff too. Um, I don't know all the truth behind that or how much he missed. Um, but it just seems, at least from the outside looking in, that the Cowboys seemed very distracted right now. And I don't think they're going to have this dominant regular season that they have been having. Like, obviously, CeeDee Lamb's still going to have an amazing season because, well, he's a real good receiver. Um, but the run game is not going to be good. I mean, they have washed up Ezekiel Elliott and washed up Dalvin Cook as the running backs right now. And, I mean, hey, if this was 2017, 2018, that'd be a real freaking good duo. Unfortunately, it's 2024, and both of these guys have dealt with injuries, being on different teams, getting old. Uh, Neither of them are as fast or explosive as they used to be. Yeah, I don't think they're going to have a good run game. And honestly, I like the Browns' defense. I think they've got a very, very talented defense. Um, Honestly, I'm picking the Browns here. Um, like I said, the biggest thing, I think the Cowboys are just coming into the season too distracted. I feel like the absolute main thing this offseason was the CeeDee Lamb thing. And honestly, I think Jerry Jones put off re signing him for way too long. So I'm going the Cleveland Browns there. Then we have the New York Jets taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Um, a storyline for this would be Robert Saleh taking on his former team. He used to be defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Um, that's about the only storyline I can really think of here, but should be a good one. Very defensive, very strong defenses in this game. Um, Very, very good running backs in this game. I'd say, two of the top five running backs in the game right now. Um, so I like that matchup quite a bit. Jets have a very, very good secondary, so I don't expect a lot of passing from the 49ers, but I think they're going to be very creative in the run game, and I think they're going to get after Aaron Rodgers enough to win this game. Then we have the Carolina Panthers taking on the New Orleans Saints. And, the Panthers they're coming off an awful season. We all know that. There were leaps and bounds the worst team in the NFL last year. But I feel like they did a lot of good things this offseason to try to fix that, including rebuilding the O line, getting Robert Hunt, who, in my opinion, is a top 10 offensive guard in the league. Also signing Damian Lewis, who I think is a top 20 guard in the league, or at least top 25. I think that's reasonable. They're moving Austin Corbett to center, which, I think he'll do all right there. I think Dave Canales is a much smarter coach. I think he'll have a much more exciting offensive game plan than Frank Reich ever did last year. I think he's going to bring a much more energy than Frank Reich ever did last year. And I think the players are just going to feed off that. I'm not saying that they're going to be a great team, but they're trending in the right direction. They did re-sign Derek Brown to a long extension this offseason, so no real big contract issues, glaring at them right now. I think they're trending in the right direction. Meanwhile, the Saints, I think they have a really talented defense, especially secondary. And then obviously you can't talk about them without talking about Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara. And then Rashid Shaheed is an absolute speedster at wide receiver. Other than that, I don't think they have a great offense. I don't think Derek Carr is real good. I think there were a lot of his stats from last year. I feel like kind of came from like garbage time stuff where he was hucking the ball downfield and happened to find someone open and maybe got a couple of garbage time touchdowns there. Um, I don't love the Saints offense. I really don't. Um, I think it's pretty mediocre. Um, they do still have a really good secondary. I think Demario Davis will still play at a high level, but I don't love their D line. And honestly, their offensive line is kind of in shambles right now. Trevor Penning is not looking like a very good tackle right now. And then Ryan Ramczyk is out for the season. So, yeah, just a rough looking O line. I'm actually going to take the Panthers in an upset here. So, then we have the Minnesota Vikings taking on the New York Giants. And honestly, I think this is going to be a matchup of two of the bottom five teams in the NFL this year. I'm going to be honest. I don't like the Vikings quarterback situation at all. I know they've got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and they signed Aaron Jones. But I don't love that defense. Um, I mean, they've got a few good players here and there, like Ivan Pace, bringing in Dallas Turner. Byron Murphy is a good corner. Still got Harrison Smith. So, they've got a few names here and there, but no one else there that really makes that defense. And I think really, look, they're going through an entire season of Sam Darnold as the starter. I don't think that's going to be good. I think there's going to be a lot of offensive issues this year, and I think that's going to have them as a bottom five team this year. Or if not bottom five, not far out from it. Then the Giants, rough O-line, rough receivers outside of Malik Neighbors, who we don't even know is going to be a stud in the NFL yet, so that's kind of just guessing. I I like the front seven a little bit. I mean, they've got Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns. But thinking about it, there's really not many other players on that defense that really move me there. Overall, I do think the Vikings are still the better team. I think the Giants quite possibly could be the worst team in the league this year. I say them or the Patriots. But we'll go Vikings here. And then we have the Commanders taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jaden Daniels getting his first NFL start. That's exciting. I think the Bucs have a very talented offense, though. Baker Mayfield's coming off a really good season. He looked happy there in Tampa. So good for him. Excited to see what he does there this year. I think they have a pretty alright defense. Honestly, I'm not real high on the Commanders this year. I'm going to go the Buccaneers in this game. And then last game, we have the LA Rams taking on the Detroit Lions. A rematch of the, well, it would have been a divisional round? Or no. Would have been a wild card round game from last year from the NFC. Yeah, should be a good matchup. Matt Stafford getting another battle against his former team should be good. Jared Goff getting another rematch against his former team should also be good. I'm excited to watch this game. I think it's going to be really good. I think both Kyren Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs are going to have good games. I'm excited to see that. Puka Nacua going into year 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 5 receiver right now. A lot of exciting stuff to watch in this game. I'm going to go Detroit Lions here. But honestly, I think this is going to be a competitive game. So, let me know what you think of these Week 1 predictions in the comment section below. Again, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Later.